Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today at the Gnomon School of Visual Effects, Games and Animation in Hollywood for our Career Paths and Industry Advice Gnomon Alumni panel. We're excited to have some incredible artists here today, and all-around wonderful people, I'm going to say. They're here today from Walt Disney Animation Studios, Blizzard Entertainment, and Pixomondo. So it's very cool. So from your right to left, we have Casey McDermott, Senior Animator at Blizzard. Daniel Edery is in the middle, a CG generalist and concept artist at Pixomondo. And last but definitely not least, Diana Zeng, lighting artist at Disney, is here on your left. Thank you. So every artist that comes to and graduates from Gnomon has their own unique story, and we'd like to share a few of those with you today. Our guests here are here to discuss their diverse range of specialties and tell us how they discovered their individual callings. They also represent studios in feature film animation, video games, TV, and commercials, so we'll get to hear some insights into these key industries and the types of roles available, as well as some of the awesome projects they get to work on, like Zootopia, Overwatch, and Stranger Things. So Gnomon, this year, we're happy to be celebrating our 20th anniversary, so we should keep in mind today that today's guests have applied to and graduated from Gnomon at very different times throughout the school's history. They're all alumni from our vocational certificate programs, so we do offer a BFA degree now at Gnomon as of this fall, but please remember that the alumni here today will be speaking to their experiences on the vocational programs. I guess they'll all be happy to answer your questions today. And we're also lucky to have our admissions advisor, Ray Cuevas, over here. He'll be happy to answer any school-related questions for you. So if you'd like to learn more about the BFA program, vocational program, high school summer camp, we have individual classes too, so Ray will be able to help you. I think that's the first round of applause you've had at one of our events, Ray, so congratulations. For those watching online, welcome. Thank you for joining us too. I hope there's some folks in Europe watching today, seeing as we're actually streaming when you guys are awake, so hello to you. As always, with those with questions in the stage, please raise your hand and we'll bring the mic to you. Online questions, to submit those, please use #Gnomon on Twitter, or please use the live stream live chat. If you're watching on Facebook Live, you're welcome to comment, but it can be hard to follow your questions there, so if you do have a question you're desperate to ask, please use Twitter or the live chat function to speak to us directly. We also have some prizes today, so for those online, we'll raffle a 1-month subscription to the Gnomon Workshop Library. Simply share the live stream event URL on Twitter with #Gnomon, and we'll pick a winner at random. For those in the stage, you all have a raffle ticket, so please hang on to those. We have some Gnomon t-shirts and sketchbooks to raffle off later. So that's enough of me talking, so let's have another round of applause for today's guests, and Casey will kick off with the first presentation.
All right, sounds like this thing's on. Hey guys, thanks for coming out today. I'm really excited to talk to you a little bit about my backstory. I know this sounds really arrogant right here, but this is, trust me, we'll come back to this in a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit more about what I mean by cream rises to the top. My name's Casey McDermott. I'm a senior animator at Blizzard Animation. Blizzard Animation is also known as, or AKA, Blizzard Cinematics. Some of the projects I've worked on to get to that point include some films. The first film I was on was Night at the Museum, and before that I started in games at Sony Computer Entertainment America, where I worked on MLB The Show. I was actually a baseball player throughout my whole life. I played semi-professionally and in college a little bit. So when they found out that I played baseball when I went to this, they immediately strapped me into a mocap suit and were like, you're pitching, you're hitting, you're doing all this stuff. So that was pretty cool experience. I think what I'm probably one of the biggest things, or one of the things that people are most excited for now is Overwatch. This is one of our newest IPs. It's pretty exciting to see. But I brought a little clip to show you what I applied with. Now this is back, I made this in 2004, so this is a long time ago. It is ugly. I won't make you sit through the whole thing. This is the first time I ever tried to animate, and instead of doing little assignments to figure it out, I decided to make an entire short film, so I don't recommend that. So this is it. And I spent more time trying to make grass look cool than anything else. So I just want to show you like where I came from. Yeah, it's good. There's a lot of weight here, trembling elbows on accident. This thought process is going on here. So it's pretty rough. Again, I'm not going to let you sit through all that. It's neither here nor there. So let's talk a little bit about things that kind of make me up as a person and kind of help guide me along. I'm a very family-oriented person with people I grew up with, and my wife and kids, and my dog Foxy, who comes with me everywhere, except for here today. She comes to work, and I oftentimes think that she's the reason why I get hired places, because she's pretty cute. I also like to extend that to my extended family, the people that I work with every day. This is the Blizzard animation team, and these guys are a really tight group of people, and it's very welcoming to come and work with a group of people that you can treat like your family. I also really like to goof off. The very top picture here is the one on the left is Leslie Waters. He's an animator at Pixar. Chris Silva, I think, is a senior animator at Blue Sky. And then there's me, the bearded vagrant, on the right. And we used to do production beards, and this was for Alvin the Chipmunk's Chipwrecked. So those are the beards that we grew. Here I am still the reigning Blizzard Animation Ugly Sweater Contest for Christmas, I think 2 years running. And the far right one is just a photo mash of myself that I did with a female country singer. And so anytime I send an email out at work or someone pulls up my work, they see this image. So I like that one. I love the feeling of progression and conquering. But I also realize that you always have a plan of where you're going to go. And in reality, it's never as straightforward as you think. Again, my first love, my first passion was baseball, as you see the little dude on the spinning thing on the right. And that was my goal growing up. I was going to play baseball. But again, our plans never turn out to be exactly what you think. I also love gaming. I love video gaming. And this is actually an image that one of my buddies sent me on Facebook saying, dude, did you know you have a character in the game? And I do. And it's awesome. So now I can go visit myself in game should I ever feel the need to. I'm still trying to get them to get Foxy in there. We'll see. And so Blizzard to me, going to school and growing up was once I found out that animation is what I wanted to do, was my dream. It was my goal. And there was a shot, I don't know if you ever saw the announcement trailer from World of Warcraft back in the day, where a panther's running through and then or a night elf turns into a panther. And now I sit next to the guy that did that shot, and it's a really humbling experience. So the other thing I love about Blizzard is it mixes sports and gaming. This is us winning the tournament for Overwatch. I'm not going to brag too much, but we did win. Pretty cool. And we had it at an esports arena. It was a ton of fun. So why is all of this important? Because where we come from, no matter what your background is, whether it be in construction or as a janitor or as a student or anything, no matter what our background is, we bring along a bunch of information that define us as a unique individual. Sports, gaming, goofing off, family, these are things that all define me and make me unique when what I bring to the table unique. So what does an animator do all day? Well, we kind of act ridiculous. At Blizzard, we do a lot of physical stuff, so we're flying over couches, flying in hallways, getting pulled around, trying to act super cool. Not as effective as I'd like. And in the end, what we take this information of us shooting reference and figuring it out, and then we turn it into this clown spaghetti and try and make something out of it. And I never thought that I'd want to go from baseball to this, never in a million years. But when I injured myself playing baseball, and I found myself just addicted to playing with clown puke or clown spaghetti. So when you play around with this, you kind of try to make a final product. And this is a piece I did a long time ago, never finished it, but I just kind of want to show you what those curves interpolate to.
You're gonna lose. You stink. You're gonna lose.
Got him!
So it's really ugly. But that's kind of where you want to head to. Oh yeah. Cool. So my Gnomon experience was very unique, as everybody's journey would be. And I couldn't believe that I was accepted. As you saw the guy flying a kite, granted, the standards were much different in 2004 or 2005. But I also had some 2D background, which I didn't bring here today. So I was really shocked. And I remember getting the email on a summer and running downstairs to tell my parents that I was accepted. And it was a really exciting experience. But I would like to say that I think that I may have tricked the faculty into accepting me because I had my interview here. I didn't have much of a portfolio. But I remember when I left on that August day saying, awesome, or no, it was a July, and I said, awesome, well, I'll see you in August. And my ignorance, not thinking anything of it, that I hadn't been accepted yet, I feel like as I walked out the door, they must have been like, did we already tell him I guess he's coming. All right, well, send the email. So I really lucked out. And the classes here were amazing, but I was in way over my head. And I did a lot of failing, which kind of brings me up to a point where I'm talking about the uniqueness of your background. For me, it was baseball. We had a saying when I played on a traveling team called, it was baseball lessons in life. And, you know, as a 17 to 20-year-old, that doesn't mean a whole lot to me. But I never forgot it. And one thing that I like to attribute that to is failing a lot. Because in our everyday lives, we constantly are failing and learning, and constantly failing. Like, even if you just do a little bit driving into the other lane, oh, shit, let me turn back over. You know, it's little fails all day long. And I like to bring up the point that in baseball, you can fail 7 out of 10 times, and you are a Hall of Famer. If you fail 7 out of 10 times, you're a Hall of Famer. You're living infamy. So I started thinking of my own life and reflecting and finding the parallels there. And sure enough, I'm probably hitting about 150 in my everyday life. I failed probably nine times out of 10. The other great thing about the Gnomon experience here was networking. The students were amazing. They were all super helpful. And there's a couple people I'd like to really point out. Nathan Boyd, who's another alumni here, and Max Dayan, who really helped me get through the work here. Nathan was an incredible artist coming in, and he really took me under his wing and helped show me how to be a showman and how to present my work. And Max, anytime, he was a couple terms above us, and anytime I had issue, Max was always more than helpful and always more than happy to help. We had great teachers, and there's one in particular that I would like to point out because it was really crucial to my journey, and it was Suze Datz. Suze was one of those people that you meet her once, and she'll always remember your name and where you came from and a thing that you talked about that day. And it was incredible. And she ran a class called Career Realities, which after talking to a bunch of other people from other schools, don't have this kind of course. Career Realities was talking about benefits, negotiating terms, what to talk about when you're getting a job, how to look for a job, what to do with a 401k, Roth or IRA, all sorts of fun stuff. That at the time I was like, man, this is like the worst class ever. But since then, I have used every single thing. Suze, at the time, brought in mentors to the school, and my personal one was Bill Campbell, who was an animator at Rhythm and Hughes. Suze was also a recruiter for Rhythm and Hughes, I should say. So what did I learn at Gnomon? Oh, gosh, so many things. Skills, firstly, lots of skills. When I went there, it was a generalist program, so I learned everything from the general knowledge of everything in modeling to animation to rendering to dynamics. And I was really hungry to learn everything. I just wanted to pick it up. But once I started setting keys in animation, it was like, I'm done. I just want to do this. I learned how to learn. That sounds silly, but I learned how to self-study. Because you can go to class and you can do work here, but it's really on you. No matter what school you go to, it's really on you to put the time in and really self-study and figure it out and find the passion the thing that you're interested in. Career Realities, which I talked about with Suze. It's a small industry. So the people that you go to school here, I don't know how many people are accepted now, but at the time I think it was 48 a year. And those are all the people that you're going to be working with. Whether at your company or a different company, those are all going to be people that you're going to be working with. And to say it's a small industry is a kind of an understatement. As we were talking before, I think we all have a bunch of common threads, which is really cool to hear. One of my best buddies at work is one of your best buddies from growing up in town, which is super cool. And everybody from Gnomon has, I think almost all my jobs I've been awarded have come from somebody I knew here at Gnomon at one point in time or another. So a lot of people you might hear that, well, the industry's kind of saturated. And it is. There is a lot of people. If you go to any of these expos or conventions to see the kind of people that are interested in this, it is a lot of people. There are a lot of people there. But then, again, I kind of point the finger and say, it's on you. You have to be very critical, and that's what Gnomon helps you to really gain and hone that eye, to be critical and figure it out what it is, how to get better, how to self-educate. And so that's one thing that really helped me stand apart from others that came from other very great schools. And then when I was here, I also did a lot of freelance. I knew a buddy of mine named Andy Ludecki. And Andy he was a professional skater for a while, and he did a lot of music videos that he needed help from people at Gnomon, so he called upon a lot of his colleagues to help him to complete these. And at one point in time, he actually had a pitch for a Fox TV show called Alphas, which luckily we had the great opportunity of doing. As you can see, I almost look just like this dude. And as a funny note, this is actually a pitch that was made for that show, but nobody knows. They tried to make it like a viral video, so they made it like this really ugly Windows Movie Maker kind of thing. And this is something that we just did for fun, or not for fun, for pitching.
Throw these quarters in these shot glasses with perfect precision.
Oh yeah, I didn't cut my hair, by the way, the entire time I was at Gnomon.
Pretty easy, man.
Yeah, we're trying to really ham it up.
Because I'm going to take 10 quarters and I'm going to throw them in one of each of these shot glasses at the end here.
So cheesy.
So, as you see, we have 10 quarters right here. So we're going to go into each one of these.
The funny thing is, at the end of school, this was actually kind of a viral video at the time.
There you go. That's it.
Oops. It was kind of a viral video at the time, and so I put that at the end of my demo reel. And people are like, oh yeah, I remember that little quarters thing. It's kind of funny. So I always try and do that with my demo reels now, try and add a little something that kind of personalizes me. So how did I get where? Directly out of Gnomon, 2 weeks later, I started a company called Rhythm and Hues. And that was all because Suze Datz was a recruiter, Bill Campbell was my mentor, and Nathan Boyd, also an alumni of Gnomon, all referred me. And so with all that kind of weight behind my referrals, it really helped get me there. From Rhythm, I went to a company called BrainZoo, who I met through a job fair here at at Gnomon, which was great. And then they wound up contacting me, and I worked there for several months on and off. MPC, another tech animator rigger named Danny Wynn, another Gnomon alumni. He referred me to Moving Picture Company in Santa Monica, where I worked for a few months on commercials and other said projects. And then Max Dan called me up and said, hey, man, would you like to come teach at Gnomon? I was like, yeah, sounds great. I would love to. And I always keep my notes really close by so that I could share them later on. So I already had all this criteria, all this curriculum ready to go. From there, I met a guy named Brian Koval at Rhythm and Hues, where I started working at Moving Color, which is a firm a boutique in downtown LA, where we worked on like Imagineering, some really cool, interesting new stuff. And then from there, I went to Blizzard. And again, Bill Campbell, my mentor from Gnomon, referred me. And since I've been there, I've helped several other people procure jobs there. Corin McCrae, who's another animator, Letitia Ronaldo, who's an amazing sculptor, Alyssa Diaz, who's an amazing rigger, and Nathan Boyd, who needed no help from me, who's an amazing surface texturing, lighting artist. Okay, so when I went to Blizzard, they required me to do a test, an attack and a walk cycle. So I spent the first, and they gave you 2 weeks to do it. I spent so much time figuring out what I was going to do. I even animated one thing the first week, didn't like it, started over. And then the Sunday, it was due on a Wednesday, Sunday morning at 4 a.m., my computer crashed, lost everything. And I called up my buddy, the guy from the bearded picture, and said, hey, dude, I need help. Can I commandeer your computer? And he, sure enough, let me use it for 3 days, where I recreated everything I had already done. So this was done in 3 days. So as you can see in the top one, there's a lot of ugly, rough stuff, but I just didn't have time. Oops, let's go back a little bit. So I went to Titan, Project Titan, and I didn't know what the game was. They didn't tell me what the game was. They didn't show me what anything was. And I can't show you anything from what I did there. But this is all I have. This is what got me my foot in the door. When Titan kind of disbanded and they reshuffled people around, they loved their talent there. So they tried to retain as many people within the company as they could, and they shuffled them to other parts of the company that needed help. So I was actually fortunate enough to go to the WoW team, World of Warcraft, which was a ton of fun. It was a great group of guys, or a great group of people, I should say, and some of the best animators I've ever met. And I was so fortunate to have been on one project and another project within this company, because I really got to know and build relationships with multiple teams. And that, to me, was like, that networking, to me, was priceless. And it's the same thing that happened here at Gnomon, meeting people from multi-disciplines to figure out, I don't know, your own path. The first thing I did there, if you guys went to BlizzCon, I think 2013, 2014, I guess, you got this little pet. And I love this little dude. It's a little Murloc, and yeah, he just comes crashing down, and he just does this as you're running around through little towns. When I was on WoW, and even when I was in Titan, my mind still loved film. I really yearned for storytelling. And not that Blizzard doesn't do that with their games in general, but I just wanted to do more storytelling. So I was very fortunate to go to cinematics. I took a couple of classes at the time with now lead Hunter Grant and James McCoy, who really helped show me the Blizzard style for cinematics, and they were teaching a class within Blizzard. And I just went there and was like, I want to learn more, and they really helped me a ton, and really also opened the door to a different team that I wanted to be part of. So since I've been there, I'm just going to show you a reel that I put together a couple weeks ago. Just so you can see, just remember the kite, okay? The kite was pretty bad. Okay, we'll just remember that, and we'll just see where we've come from since then. Again, like I said, I like to add a little something at the end that just makes it personable, more about, just so they put a face to the name. So what I kind of hope you guys take away from this is no matter where you come from, whatever walk of life you come from, I hope that you can find parallels in your life to the things that you find your passion in. Which then brings me to this. I hope you find your passions. And to go back to the parallels, to me it was baseball lessons in life. I go around and I think of the people baseball's a game where you're focused on one person at a time, but it's a complete team effort all the time. And that's just like what we do at work every day. Sometimes your shot comes up and everybody's focused on that, but it wasn't just me. It's a whole crew of people that are making that. So find your passion. If you're passionate about something and you're passionate about something else, just follow those passions. There's no use in trying to do something that you're not excited about, you're not passionate about. Fail early and fail often. Just fail all the time. Remember, Hall of Fame, fail 7 out of 10 times. That's all you need to know. It's great. It takes a village. I did not get to where I am by myself. It took a bunch of people from Gnomon and from every perspective studio and from my family and from my life to make me the person that I am today. And for all of those, I'm incredibly grateful. Be the best you can be. I mean, that's obvious. And be fun to work with. Every day at work, even when it's hard, it's important to be fun to work with because there's a lot of times where you'll be in grueling crunch hours, and if you don't like the person you're sitting next to, I would rather sit next to somebody who's more fun to work with and maybe not as strong of an artist than someone who's incredibly strong, but I can't stand them. So be fun to work with. So again, I come back to cream rise to the top because my whole career, I've been surrounded by incredibly talented artists, and I have just been the little turd that floats along this whole time. So I just want you to take that home, don't have to think about that part, but everything else is good. All right, that's all I have. Thanks, guys.
Oh, wait, I think you're next.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure, thanks.
Hey. Just have to have a makeshift. There we go. That works. How's everybody doing? That was amazing. That was all amazing. Okay, so just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about my path to Gnomon, at Gnomon, post Gnomon, and basically any advice that I can give you along the way. So I've always been interested in art. Just before I could write, I was drawing. I was obsessively drawing dinosaurs and sharks and alligators, and I've always been interested in art, but also science as well. So science, zoology, paleontology, that stuff was always just really got me excited. But at the same time, I got good grades in school, so I mean, I think there's a lot of stigma toward being an artist as a career, as I'm sure a lot of people maybe have encountered. But I was lucky enough to kind of stumble across this path in this industry that enabled me to take my passion and all those seemingly disparate things that I was nerdy about and combine them all into a career that's not only stable, but I feel like I'm flourishing. So let's see. So I'm from Los Angeles, so I think that also influenced me in a lot of ways, just being kind of around the town where the industry is kind of based, just having amazing museums and exhibits coming through and galleries that were really inspirational to me. But I didn't go to art school right away. How many people here would say, how many people have degrees already, or how many people, show of hands? Okay, yeah, so a good number of you. So yeah, so there's a couple different routes you can take. You know, if you know what you want to do and you want to go right to art school, that's definitely an option. I was maybe a little unsure still. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, so I ended up getting into UC Berkeley and moving up to the Bay Area, and that was a really amazing experience, just seeing a different part of, just kind of a different culture up there. It's a little bit different than down here. Definitely kind of felt like I made a lot more friends and was exposed to a lot of really amazing things. While I was there, I actually continued my interest in paleontology and dinosaurs, and I worked in the fossil lab cleaning fossils. Yeah, so it was interesting because I tried all these other things, like, oh, maybe architecture is a way to pursue art, or maybe fine art, because I was actually a fine art major. But as soon as I started getting into these classes, it became clear that they weren't really interested in teaching any technique. It was just like, oh, what's your interpretation, man? Like, yeah, that was frustrating. But toward the tail end of my time at Berkeley, I started. There was like an animators club, like a Maya club there, and I started kind of getting exposed to what was possible with 3D, and I was totally against CG for a long time. Because as a child, I was like, I want to be that guy at Stan Winston, sculpting the velociraptors by hand. I want to, ingest all the toxic chemicals and become one of those crazy guys. And I was like, computers are cold and sterile, and they'll never take over. They'll never be able to, Obviously, I was proved wrong. And it was around that time that I started seeing ZBrush was becoming popular, and I started seeing oh yeah, you can actually make really cool, really detailed, organic stuff, and that was really exciting. And so I graduated from Berkeley. I still was living up in the Bay Area, and after having a degree from a fairly prestigious university, I was working at Pete's Coffee and Trader Joe's. And so I was like, hold on a second, there's something wrong here. And I wasn't happy, and nothing was exciting me. But actually a good friend of ours, mutual friend of ours, Alon Hellman, he was the one who introduced me to the Gnomon workshop. And I started watching these DVDs and just getting more and more, psyched and sucked in, and it just started becoming real and tangible, because I think, when you kind of approach this as a layperson, I guess you would say, it can feel a little bit untouchable, removed, but really it's just about, like Casey said, it's just about putting the time in and about talking to people and being open and being out there and being involved. I guess I'll take you through. Oh, well, here, let me actually show you real quick. I wanted to bring in, I don't have any photos of any of the work that I applied with, but while I was at Berkeley, I took some classes at the Academy of Art in San Francisco, and this was one of the drawings that I took there, or that I did there, and this is based on a photo from National Geographic. So as you can see, I was very, much a traditional artist, and very interested in doing characters, and sorry if I'm blinding any of you guys with the reflection, but so when you're applying, a lot of people come from different backgrounds and stuff, but it's good to show an understanding of, form, composition, presentation, having an eye for knowing when something is finished, is a big thing. I remember applying and not hearing that I got in until maybe like a couple of weeks before the term started. So I just made plans to move home anyway. Because I'm from here, it actually helped a lot because I was able to live with my mom. And let me also speak to the amazing support that I couldn't have done it without you and Grandma and everyone else that was there, that cheered me on, and so I think that's really important too. It helps a lot. If you don't have that, it's not impossible. I would echo Casey's sentiment. If you know this is what you want to do it, and don't give up, because this is a town of a lot of people that come here to do something, and most of them give up. And the definition of success, as far as I'm concerned, is perseverance. And there are lots of times when I was freelancing and it was hard to get work. I graduated right in the middle of the recession. And there's times where I wanted to just give it all up and say, F this. But something kept going, or there'd always be little breadcrumbs, here and there to kind of get me over the hurdle. And so I'll show you some stuff. I guess start with the reel. I guess not. Can I minimize this? How do I unfull screen this? Okay. So I'll take you through a little bit of my post-graduation stuff. Well, I guess, okay, I'll talk about a little bit when I was here. Sorry, I'm not as organized as Casey was, but being here was a really amazing, overwhelming experience. Just the mixture of inspiration and yet also intimidation of just being with so many people that are such rock stars. Somehow I made it through. I originally wanted to be an animator, and I think part of that, really, I think in my heart of hearts, I wanted to make creatures and make monsters, but I think I was always really intimidated by the people that I kind of looked up to that did that, and I think maybe I shied away from that a little bit, and so I think a piece of advice that I would say is, even if you don't think you're good enough, you will be. If you just don't give up, give yourself some credit, because it's just a matter of time. It's honestly, I've seen people in this program that, maybe I had a moment where I was like, talent will only take you so far. You can't always coast on your talent. You need to put in the work, and I think that one of the biggest things that Gnomon taught me was just to have a work ethic in general. And graduating, I think I remember being really nervous that I wasn't going to find work, and I was lucky enough to get picked up to work on some commercials, some small houses, and then the director of the commercial that I worked for, he ended up doing he ended up being a director on a video for Bjork, and this was a still from that video, and I added all of these crystals and rocks to her head, and we tracked them on, and she was this kind of like lava goddess thing, and that was really cool because I'd always had this interest in music. I'm also a musician, and so it was really cool to combine those interests. And then eventually, Andy Wang, the director, came back, and you want to open a JPEG? What is this? %1? All right, well, anyway, he came back and he ended up asking me if I wanted to do the album art for her latest album. This was a couple years ago, Vulcanaria. I don't know how you say it, but ended up sculpting something for that. And then while I was at Aaron Sims' company, I ended up working on Dee Antwoord's album, We Have Candy, and I made this candy heart, and basically the whole track list on the back of the album is all these candy hearts. And then I also had to model this evil boy guy, and so I have modeled a penis. And yeah, someone else had to rig it. I didn't rig it. But I did figure out the blobby jizz simulation, so that was fun. So after freelancing for about 3 years, worked at various studios, including Zoic, Baked Effects, a couple of smaller houses. A good friend of mine, Kelton Cram, who's a concept artist, he's designed the Power Rangers suits and everything. He got me a job at Aaron Sims' company, and there I finally got to kind of explore my passion for creatures and monsters, because it's very difficult in smaller studios to get some of those like kind of sexy projects. A lot of it's sort of grunt work or very basic touches here and there. It's hard to kind of take ownership. But I think we started, they hired me there because they were trying to make the move from just concept house to actually a production studio. They were working on a sort of a ride called the Marvel Experience, and it was sort of like you would stand under a dome and the characters would be jumping across and everything. And so that was kind of trial by fire. I was like maybe the only, there was like 2 or 3 other CG artists there, so we were all kind of just figuring it out, no supervisor or anything. But I started seeing like my coworkers, like Jared Kraszewski, who's a ZBrush teacher here, seeing his concept work, and I basically decided I wanted to start doing more of that, so more of that ZBrush sculpting work. And I was like, yeah, I want to make, like Ninja Turtles, and instead I got to work on Pixels. So, any Adam Sandler fans? I didn't think so. So this is my concept for Centipede. We went through so many iterations. It started out much more of a creature. Like we were kind of going for like a Ghostbusters feel. And I was trying to evoke the, gee, I can't navigate. How do I? I was trying to, skipping ahead in here. What is this program? I was trying to evoke the original arcade box design and everything, but in the end they were like, no, it's going to be made out of blocks. So that was fun. And I ended up doing a bunch of characters. I did Pac-Man, I did Q*bert, Donkey Kong, all of these characters that are in this. Well, I'm not going to say my opinion of the movie because a good rule of thumb in this industry is you never say anything bad. If you don't have anything nice to say, you just don't say anything. Because you never know who worked on what, and you always got to, maintain your reputation. But yeah, eventually from there, I got to do some really cool assignments. I did this guy for Falling Skies, and this was me kind of gradually starting to pick up the workflow there, and they were all about speed. So, I mean, we're just making an image, don't worry about all your render passes, just get it into KeyShot, get it into Photoshop, start painting on it, add smoke in the background, make it look dramatic. So that was fun. I got to work on Conjuring 2. This is my design for the Crooked Man that ultimately didn't get picked up. This design didn't get chosen, but I did end up texturing a CG digital double for the film. So, it part of my journey, I think, too, was just learning not to become so precious about my art, because it is, if that's your thing, you're like, I'm an artist, this defines me. But once you make it your career and it's your everyday, then it's you start to kind of come to terms with the fact that you're working for somebody else, and you're working for somebody else's vision, and you're working to achieve it. Now, that's not to say you can't have fun. I mean, this actually was, what is going on? How do you just scroll around? And I guess you use this. This was sort of going off prompt. They wanted him to be in like a pinstripey suit, and I thought, well, maybe he's just made of human skins sewn together. So that's why you see an ear and like a navel kind of coming out of him. It's about playing around and sort of trying different ideas, but not getting too bummed out if it doesn't end up getting chosen. This was a werewolf concept I did for Underworld 5, another one that didn't end up getting chosen. But these were all good practice. I just was kind of getting my skills, learning presentation. But I will say this was a concept for the show Powerless. So this is another route you can go if production's not your forte. You can go the concept route, and 3D is a very, very powerful tool to get you these really quick concepts, because I mean, all this stuff, like for a real asset, you'd have to model that in, but if it's just a concept, you can just kind of sculpt it and just bash it real quick. But I think probably one of the things I'm most proud of was for Ninja Turtles 2, Out of the Shadows, we got an opportunity to design Krang, which for me, like for my childhood, was one of the characters that I loved. And this was an early submission that I did for Krang, and I really liked this one because I thought it put the focus on him rather than like the suit that he's in, increasing his size. Unfortunately, they didn't go for this so much, but not too long before the movie actually released, I guess, what's his name? Michael Bay. He's like, yeah, I really don't like the Krang. Let's redesign it. And this is like basically unheard of. You don't redesign one of your main characters weeks before the film comes out. But so he came to us and he said, give us some more designs. So I happened to submit this design, and he approved it personally. So that was very, very cool. And one of the things too that I had to get used to was looking at a lot of really disgusting reference stuff that would make your stomach turn. Now I'm pretty much immune to it, sort of later on, we started at Aaron Sims' company, started getting more production gigs, and we worked on The Conjuring 2, doing some effects for that. I had to basically create this demon that was going to be in the film. And then I think a few weeks before the film released, James Wan said, it's not a demon anymore, now it's a creepy nun. So that was a lot of work for us, having to replace this nun, composite her back into the shots, and they hadn't not kept the lighting consistent, and it was kind of a nightmare. And then not too long after that, we got a project that we had also did all the designs for, called Stranger Things. And that was a really great experience, taking the suit that was created by Spectral Motion and translating them to a digital character. Really, really, truly awesome, and seeing how much it blew up in the end. And then, so during my time at Aaron's, I wanted to try to kind of work on my skills, just in my off time. So I started creating some personal work, trying to keep it simple, do some busts of creatures. You can't cycle through anything. This is bloody terrible. All right, I'll just click on them individually. So I did that guy. This was another piece. And a lot of this is 2D. Some of it's 3D. This is a 3D mouse skull that I found. It was like a scan. All the moss, I think, is just photo. Bash on top. This was a kind of my attempt at doing sort of a narrative piece. Sort of tells a story. I think this was around the time Alon got hired at Blizzard, and I said, oh, maybe I'll do like a fantasy piece. Maybe I'll kind of get in that way. But anyway, this was another character I did. My attempt at doing an entirely 2D concept piece. And then this guy you might be familiar with from the flyers. And yeah, I just had never, it occurred to me I had never really seen a 3D Swamp Thing, so I wanted to kind of try to realize my own version of that. And let's see. So I will show you. I'll show you my latest reel. This doesn't have probably my most recent stuff on it, but this is kind of, I guess, the culmination of a lot of my work at Aaron's. So we ended up doing, what's up? What, louder? A lot of lighting and look dev on this project. Had to look at a lot of horrific burn victims to texture this burned version. And I think in the end we just used burnt chicken as a reference. I was like, all right, clearly need this. That's the crooked man I was talking about. It's the nun transforming. Spoilers for Conjuring 2. Motion concepts, but I did design this guy. I designed her gun. These are kind of just to sort of figure out how these things are going to move and everything. That's kind of wraps it up. I just wanted to touch on another skill and avenue that I got into while I was at Aaron's was 3D printing. So this is a Demogorgon statue that I sculpted and split apart. This is maybe about yay tall. And the print beds are only so big, so you have to cut this up into pieces in ZBrush and print them individually, then reassemble them. So we had to figure out where the seams would go. There's a seam under the deltoid and, you know, here and there, but it ended up coming out pretty good. So that's another avenue that you can go. This is a bracelet that I actually modeled for a jewelry company that a friend owns. And so there's so many applications, I mean, for this skill set. I mean, manufacturing, VR, AR, film, games, and it's all coalescing together. And some recent stuff, since I've gotten to Pixomondo, I've gotten to work on some cool TV shows. This was a shot I did for Walking Dead. We had to add these Band-Aids and a wound to his head, and it's an effect that you probably would never notice, but it was just like a continuity thing. They're like, oh, we shot it out of order, and we needed Band-Aids. We didn't put tracking markers on there, so it was kind of a nightmare. Thankfully, I didn't have to track it, but it was that, and most recently, I've worked on Fate of the Furious, doing some environment work, and actually did some stuff for a Heroes of the Storm commercial, and this was a gun that I modeled for this character Nova. It's the Blizzard character. This is a chest armor piece. So yeah, I'd say I guess my perspective that's unique, I suppose, is that I am a generalist in this industry. Sort of, you can either specialize or you can be a generalist. Generalist, generally, you have a more kind of you're sort of more of a jack of all trades. You wear more hats. You tend to be geared maybe toward a smaller studio environment where you have to kind of juggle different positions. So it sort of depends on your personality, what you gravitate toward, and the types of projects that you want to be part of. And there's always a trade-off because it's, you know, if you work on, like we worked on Stranger Things, I got to do modeling, texturing, lighting, you know, concept design, all this different stuff. And it's more of a smaller scale project. Had I been on at like a big movie studio and working on a big scale project, I have a much more focused job. So you may get the bigger project in the end, but you're sort of honing in on one aspect. Which is, it's totally, either one is obviously viable, and it really depends on your personality. But I will say personality is really important. It's really important to be able to work with people and to be part of a team, to be fun to work with during those late nights, and it is a fun environment. It should be a fun environment, you know. So, yeah, I guess that's it for me. Thanks for listening to my babbling.
Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? Thanks for joining us this afternoon. And how are we doing on time? Are we still okay? Hi. Hi, I'm Diana. Nice to meet you all. Again, thanks for joining us. And I'm just going to reload this real quick. It's been pretty awesome hearing about both your stories because I see so much through line. You know, I guess one of the biggest things for all of us would be just following your passion. Thanks for coming to listen to my story. It's a little bit not as straightforward. I am currently a lighting artist at Disney Animation. However, it is my second career. Gnomon was a huge part, in fact, vital to me being able to make this second career possible. Even though I'd say like everything that I've done up to this point, I feel like has made me the WoW, you know, rounded person that I am. So I hope that, if you have any takeaways from my story, that's great. I'll just get started. Hi. So my background, I was born in China. My father is a classical violin teacher. So I grew up on the campus of a arts and performing, music and performing arts university. So growing up, I was surrounded by the creative people, from opera singers to obviously violinists, lots of music, acting, drawing. So I feel like I've always been somewhat immersed in that world. And for me, my dad always encouraged me to try, everything. But he was adamant about, if you're really going to try something, just give it your all. There's no such thing as, half trying. Because you never really know if it's something that you're good at unless you give it 150%. So that's one of the big takeaways in my life, and I think has served me well, like even throughout all the aspects of my career. So drawing was one of those things that I love to do. I'm very much an observational artist. I love teapots. I guess it's the Asianness in me, but this is the teapot that my dad gave me. And in high school, we had a great art program, and my teacher were very, very encouraging. I never really thought that I could make a career out of it. So just to backtrack, I was born in China, but then I immigrated here when I was 8 years old. I moved to Boston, and coming from an immigrant family, it was always kind of, very much encouraged for me to pursue one of those more stable careers. I guess to be a doctor or a lawyer or something in finance. It just seemed like the traditional way to go. But again, I've always been drawn to the arts. I love drawing. I danced for many years when I was a kid, did music. I played the violin, the piano. I sang in a choir. So when it was time to graduate high school, I had that moment when I was applying to colleges where I was really torn because I wanted to do the thing that was secure, but at the same time, it just didn't really feel right. And I wanted to pursue a career in the arts, but I had no idea what. And just thinking to myself, like, what is it that I really want to do? I thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool to work in film? However, at the time, I had no idea how to do that. It was just like Brookline, Massachusetts. There were no the people around to give you advice on how to break into the film industry. So I thought to myself, okay, what's the closest thing to film? Maybe I'll try theater. So I looked around and I found that there's a theater set design program at CalArts here, which I thought was perfect because I knew I wanted to be in film. However, I wanted to work in the production and the art and design aspect of it. So it was an opportunity for me to just try something new, and it was very scary. Moved out here, did that, studied that. I learned so much. It was a whole new world. It really was. I learned not only design, but just how to do set construction, painting, prop making. I helped carve these life-size mannequins for a puppetry show. I basically threw myself at anything that was made available to me at school because I really was looking for that thing that called to me. This was like a 4-foot by 4-foot big head project. I was like, I'll try to paint the Mona Lisa. So it was at CalArts here, and it was perfect too because LA is this home of Hollywood, lots of films, so it was great. And actually at CalArts, through networking with students there, I met a production designer that I started to work as a PA for before I graduated. And she was known for doing a lot of the big music videos and commercials in town. I was like, this is perfect. Like, it's not quite feature film, but here's an opportunity to try something that is kind of along the lines. And it was great because jumping onto her crew, like, I saw, okay, what is this industry? Because again, at CalArts it was great because there was a lot of like, here's how things work in theater. However, at the time, there wasn't ever that straight path to, okay, this is how you would make a career in film. And through CalArts, I decided that I really wanted to pursue a career in production design and art direction in film. So I thought, this is great. I can work for her and she can, you know, kind of be my mentor. And on the side, I can do my own projects. So this was actually the very first music video I worked on. It was for The Killers, Mr. Brightside. I think I spent 3 days on the ground, like, making this backdrop, which is made out of broken Christmas tree ornaments. It was very cool, but labor intensive. So I got to work on a lot of really cool projects, some of which are out there, and then some of which, you know, never really quite make it, just due to, you know, whatever conflicts. Shakira music video, a few Gwen Stefani videos, Lifetime. So through that crew, I met, you know, networking is such a huge thing in this industry, you know. Again, like, being a positive person to work with is a really great thing because you meet people on these jobs that may lead to your next opportunity. This was a really fun job because we built this house on the back lot of Universal. There's a fake lake there, and then we burnt it down, and it was for a, I believe, a Tyco commercial. They had the new kind of imagery that allowed you to sense body heat and fire. I'm not really sure. But it was great because throughout all of this, I got to really see, you know, what were the aspects of this industry that, you know, I liked, and I really enjoy working with my hands. I love being on set, being a part of the, you know, shoot. So then on the side, I was doing a lot of student films, doing production design work of my own. So within the whole realm of art department, if you guys aren't that familiar with live action, but the production designer is basically the person that works with the director in creating this vision for visually what you see on camera. All the scenery and all the props that the actors would interact with. So as a part of that crew, you have a lot of people, but on these smaller projects, there were a lot of fun too because you end up being that person that's doing like 10 jobs at the same time because you'd have to like build this and then paint this and then get this other, you know, prop made and pick that up. And so that was pretty cool. So I did this freelanced for about 6 or 7 years after CalArts, and throughout this time I could see, because we were building, oh, this is a cool job, like short film. This was actually a boxing gym in Pasadena that we had to turn into a living room. Lots of interesting location stuff. But throughout the bigger jobs that I was working on, we could see like over even the 6, 7 years that I was working, there were more blue screens, more green screens, and there were a lot more use of visual effects and CG in projects. And I had that moment when, you know, and this was like right around the recession, where as hard as I was trying to make that career happen, I had to take a hard look at myself and say, is this where I'm going to be in 5 years, and is that going to make me happy? Is that going to be the place that I want to be? And I realized that as much as I want to keep going down that path, the reality was that, you know, I wasn't able to get as many jobs. Most of the jobs that were coming my way were commercial work, which are, unless shoots, they're, you know, very, very fast. Usually they're 1 or 2 day shoots. So you spend like a week working furiously, you know, and then, but you may only have a few of them a year. So, and I really I was at that time, really craving something more steady and something more stable. And the other thing was, it's also very, very physically taxing. Sometimes you're looking like 18-hour shoots. I think the longest shoot I was on was like 21 hours, which is kind of crazy. But seeing more things were going to CG, I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is something I should really consider. And at the time, I knew like almost nothing about computers. I would use Photoshop very minimally, and I think I used Illustrator to make like an ID card, and I was teaching myself how to use SketchUp, but I was not a computer person at all. So that was a hiccup, I guess. So I decided, all right, I'm going to look at some online tutorials and teach myself how to model. And I believe this is one of the first things that I modeled. It was a little Canon camera that I had. And doing this project, I really quickly realized that if I were to try to approach the CG world on my own, it would take me a very, very long time. And because I was out here pretty much by myself, and I'm supporting myself, so I really didn't have the luxury of having that much time to explore because I had bills to pay. I have an apartment that I need to pay rent for. So through the Gnomon Workshop DVDs, actually, I found that, hey, there's actually a school attached. And I found the, just the high-end 3D certificate program, which is, I guess, it's the vocational program that, we all went to. It's the 21-month program that you learn how to be a CG generalist, which for me, it was perfect because even though I knew I wanted to transition to CG, I had no idea what aspect of it I would want to do, or even if it was the right choice for me, because at the time, again, everything that I had done up to that point was practical work, and I loved that, and I did not even know if I could bear to sit at a computer for more than 4 hours a day. But, I decided, so I thought, okay, Gnomon, the program was very, again, it was 21 months, so it's pretty quick, and compared to, some of the other options, I was looking at like a regular college or something. So it would very quickly tell me if this was even the right fit for me. So I put together a portfolio in which I just try to show that I had that potential to learn, that I had, creative inclinations. So these are just some of the images. I modeled the stool. It took me a really long time too. But I was really proud of this glass. I had this glass at the time, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I made water. And I just had some other just drawings that I had. I had some figure drawing examples and lots of images from the live action work that I did, all to try to just show that, hey, if you accept me, I really want this. I really want to learn, and I'm 100% committed if I get that opportunity to enter the school. So luckily, they accepted me, yay. And it was life-changing. It was life-changing, it was uncomfortable because the intro to Maya class was one of the first classes that you take. I felt like my head was going to explode. It was so foreign to me, but it was exciting. I feel like whenever you feel that sense of discomfort, like, oh my God, this is like too much, that might actually be a good thing, because I feel like when you're learning something new, it's always uncomfortable because it's a humbling process. It brings you down to what you don't know, and I think only working through that do you find out what you might be able to take away from it. So this was the student reel that I graduated with. I'm still really proud of this reel. I know lots of reels now are even more fancy, but for me it was a huge accomplishment. For someone that knew nothing about CG to being able to do this, I modeled, textured, lit that project, and this one I just did the lighting and compositing on. So this was a generalist reel. It was what was interesting at Gnomon was that I went into the program thinking I'll probably, lean more towards wanting to do modeling or texturing. For me, that seemed to make the most sense because of my background in art department. Building things, painting, that was my background. To my surprise, though, because I was, kind of dumped into this environment where you had to learn a bit of everything, I discovered, and actually, I really enjoy lighting and compositing. I really enjoy that aspect of being able to put the final image together, compose the shot, create the emotion and the mood that the viewer sees. And that was a surprise to me because when I started learning how to light and compositing with Nuke, it's somewhat technical, and I'm not a very technical person, but I feel like if you have the work ethic to just learn, you will, I learned some expressions. You will get there, but it's having that work ethic, I think, here is something that's also really important. So I could not have created this reel without the education that I got here from all the support, amazing students and faculty. The first job I got out of Gnomon was actually through one of the teachers here. I think he may still teach here, but Eric Keller. He hired me to as a generalist on this Discovery commercial, and that was super awesome. And then I think my next few jobs are also through connections through that job. Meanwhile, though, I had found out that Disney Animation, well, actually, so backtrack. So one of the students here, a friend of mine, he had graduated about a year earlier and had gone to Pixar Canada to be a lighting artist. And I was like, oh, that would be so cool. So I was pursuing that for a while. However, unfortunately, they weren't hiring. But through that experience, I did find out that Disney had a very similar program, an apprenticeship program. Whoops. And they were hiring. At the timing was just right, and I was like, all right, I'll apply and just see what happens. This was probably 4 or 5 months out of graduation, and I got into the program. They saw something in me that they wanted to help develop, and I was super grateful for the opportunity. And I think a lot of it too, it's you work really, really hard, but at the same time, it's all sometimes about the timing too. So for me, that timing was just great, but there were other times in my career when I was just a little bit too late to get that job. But that's what happens. If I could steal your slide for that plan that you have, and then what actually happens, that really is the case. And I think one of the things that have really helped me is just being flexible, and you never know, go with that opportunity that knocks instead of waiting for the one that you absolutely must have, because you never know, that might not actually be the one that you end up really wanting. So the Disney Teledub program, it's basically an apprentice program for people who recently graduated from school. They take you through 3 months of training just to learn the software. But it's assuming that you do come in with some sort of, a solid foundation. So they're teaching you the tools and what it's like to work there. And that was right before Wreck-It Ralph. Just want to show. So through that program, part of the second half of that program is working actually in production. And I worked on Wreck-It Ralph as a lighting assistant. My supervisor was awesome, because I expressed interest in, doing a lot of compositing stuff. He gave me a lot of opportunities to design, the lighting display and, the animation for the game consoles and also for like the eyeball kind of animation. I don't know, it's really cool. But yeah, it was really, I got to work with some really fun shots, and yeah, I've been lucky to be there ever since, and I've since discovered that this really is what I have always would have really liked to do. But I think all of my past experience, without that, I wouldn't be able to appreciate what I have now, because I think it all kind of adds up. And it's definitely helped me there. So as a lighter, I've worked on these films. I did a little bit of texturing on Big Hero 6, but, and I'd say like so far, like it's been such a great, you know, time working on all these films. Zootopia is probably gonna have to be my biased favorite because I got to be a lighting supervisor on that, which was really amazing. But yeah, that's kind of my story. Yeah, thanks.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. So we have some time for Q&A. Remember, we do have some prizes, so we'll do those at the end of the Q&A section. So does anyone have a question here in the stage? Okay, I'm gonna run to the back. We have some on live stream and Twitter as well.
Hey, thank you so much for coming. I have a question. Since you're all done with school, what would you recommend to do during your final terms, like maybe last 2 or 3 terms, how to get ready, finishing the school and get ready for a potential job or internship, whatever there is? Thanks.
It was a little hard to hear what you were asking about the last 2 terms.
How can you get ready? What should you do during your last terms? Like, what do you recommend besides working on your reel? Is there anything else should you be focused on?
No, just your reel. And making friends and connections.
Yeah.
I think that a question I get asked a lot by students is like, what do companies want to see, right? Like, what should I do to get there? And I tell them all the same thing. It all comes down to passion. Do what excites you. Like, if you're excited about a game, make that game. If you're excited about a painting, make that painting. Don't do something that a studio wants you to see because you think that they want to see it. They'll find something in you that is unique to you. Whether it be, you will find your path because it's what you want to do. Does that make sense? So if you're into lighting and you're like, man, I had this great idea, it's crazy, but I like this idea, do it. This is, especially because when you're in school, it's gonna be one of the last chances you get, and I shouldn't say the last chances, it's gonna be one of the last chances you get to do your own idea. Because I think someone mentioned earlier that later on you're gonna be working for a company. And that's not to say you can't do your own stuff on the side, but it definitely gets harder.
It gets harder. But yeah, just to add to that, I'd say, yeah, there's like, if you want to work at ILM and that's your dream job, make something that relates to Star Wars or Jurassic World, or, you know what I mean? Like, think about where you want to end up and then make something that is geared toward that. Like, if you want to work at Blizzard, make a fantasy piece. If you want to work at Disney, make a Disney-style piece.
And I guess to add to that, like, show your work and show it really often, because putting together my reel, like, yes, you're putting a lot of time into your reel, but sometimes when you're so close to it, it's really hard to really have an objective opinion on how is it actually doing. The lighting studies that I added to the end and the photography were actually suggestions that I got from talking to people, because I was like, hey, I really want to put together a generalist reel, but I wanted to focus more on lighting. How can I do that? So I think a lot of times especially on a computer, it's like, it's unavoidable that you're just kind of in a box. But you know, that's one of the great things about the community here, is that you have so many great professionals that come in and out. There's so many opportunities that as much as, it's good to just keep working at your desk, it's always important to show your work and show it often, even if it's not ready, to just say, hey, this is where I want to be. Am I on track, do you think? Or do you think, where do you think I am?
Get out of that vacuum. Just keep showing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Even if you don't think it's good, show it anyway, because the feedback is always going to be good.
Because this industry is all about feedback. There's to work on any of these projects. There's a huge team of people. I don't think anyone really works independently on their own, really.
Yeah.
And if they do, they're ridiculous. They're a savant.
If they do, they're Miguel Ortega. And even he has his wife.
We have a question from Andrew on Twitter, who also uses the hashtag #KC is awesome. I should begin with that. So the question is for Casey. He's asking, if you had to start over from scratch today, how would you go about doing that? This is an animation student asking the question.
Oh man, that's tough. That's hard to say. I don't want to say I wouldn't have done anything differently, because I'm sure there's plenty of times in my life I would have liked to have turned right instead of left. Just again, fail early, fail often. This is the biggest thing I could say. The first thing I did was a short film, the dumbest thing I could have done. Do as many small things as you can. A blink, a walk, a head turn, a cough, little things. Just do as many little things as you can, because all of those things, in the end, as an animator, are going to build up your repertoire. You're going to have like a bag of tricks later on that's like, oh, I know how to do a formula cough. Okay, let me just put a key there, done, done, done. And then you fit the mood. Then you adjust it and flavor it to taste. So you're adjusting it so that it hits the aesthetic of the scene. So as many little things as possible. As one of my mentors, who actually does a lot of master's classes here, and I highly recommend seeing him if and when he does. His name is Michael Makarovich. He says death by 1,000 paper cuts. You can die by a shotgun blast, which is kind of what I did with my short film, or just by doing one little thing, and they all add up to be the same. So I would have done a lot more smaller projects and not focus so much on the big projects.
That was awesome, thank you. Any more questions in the stage? Yes, okay, right here.
Hello, my name's Rachel. I'm actually a sorry, I'm nervous. Current Gnomon student. I'm in the 3-year program, and I'm actually in the first couple terms, so very early on. One of the things I'm struggling with is knowing when to put something in an online portfolio, and kind of that intimidation factor of having work but it not being quite demo reel style yet. Is that something you think we should go ahead and automatically throw out there? Or should we kind of keep our personal work and our kind of younger work to ourselves until we're more developed as artists?
I think it probably depends on who you ask, but me personally, I would say probably keep that stuff more under wraps. Most of the advice that I've ever gotten has been, don't post work that you feel is unfinished. That doesn't mean don't show it to anyone. You have an amazing community of people here that will give you great feedback and show your teachers. So it's more like keep it within the family, I guess is what I would say.
I might recommend making a blog and posting all your work on there, and then anybody can look at it and drop comments, feedback, and you can pose it as such. Like, this is my journey blog. I'm just trying to get from A to B. Please, feedback welcome, right? And then that way you don't have to really feel fearful of failing. Don't feel afraid of failing. And to add to that, something, again, Nathan Boyd, my roommate at Gnomon, he said to me, it was really helpful, if you ever question something that you're going on your demo reel, take it off. If you're like, is this good enough? Nope, that thought alone says it's not good enough. So that's, once you're coming in and you're really carving out your final reel, that's a good question to ask yourself. If you come up with that question, then you probably should cut it off.
Then I would have had no reel.
I know.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think for me, it's more about context. Like why, what is your intention and what would you like to get out of posting something online? Whether it's a journey blog, getting feedback, or is it a site where you are promoting yourself and you want to, solicit and get jobs from there? So it really depends on, what form you're reaching. I would say, like, if it's a journey blog, then totally, preface it with, this is a work in progress. I just want to show and get feedback. If it's work that you're trying to get a job with, then I would definitely be more selective, only because, there's so much stuff out there. It's kind of when people look at your work, you want it to just wow them, It could be one or two pieces, and that's it. And not have to filter through all of the work in progress. I would say though, if you're early on in your term, I'd say just learn, just like really focus on that. That was advice that was given to me, and because there will be that time when you're really focusing on your reel. But in the moment, just take that opportunity and just learn, because, and I only realize this now looking back, those moments when you're in school, that freedom to just, hey, I'm just here to learn. I mean, that's it's almost like a luxury, right? Without the pressure of like, so then you can like fail however many times you want, without being like, oh shoot, I failed and I'm not gonna get that paycheck. So.
If you are a current student, I'd say like a good thing to do is also to try to combine classes, like pieces for different classes. So if you have a modeling class one term and a texturing class the next term, model something and then texture it the following term, or if you're taking a look dev in a texturing class at the same time, try to combine pieces, because it's so much harder to do one piece for each thing simultaneously.
I was just gonna say something silly. It was just like, read as many Bruce Lee quotes as you can, because he has some really good quotes about just failing and being the next step to greatness, and just makes you put things in perspective, helps put things in perspective.
Awesome. I love the idea of the journey blog. I like that. Another question here?
Hi, my name is Matthias. I'm an extension student at Gnomon. My question was for Deanna, because I'm similarly in my second career as well, and I did art department up and down, and it really sounds so nice that somebody else did it too. And my question is basically, other than previs, there's nothing that's come at me that's lent itself so much in terms of what I knew in production and what I now know, or I'm learning in CG. And because you've now known pipelines, I'm just curious, is there anything that you know production-wise lent itself so quickly to CG and transferring your information of what you knew to a CG world?
That's a really good question. It's a really hard question. Unfortunately, there isn't that real direct, like one-to-one, like, for me, like I kind of try to distill it down to like what called to me was the excitement of making that image. What was really cool about working in art department, especially on set, is that oftentimes, like, when you're about to shoot, the camera's framed and you just need to move the chair in a little bit, like it's about the framing and creating that image. That's exactly what we do in visual effects as well. So, but in terms of the actual jobs, like who does what and where that happens in the pipeline, I'd say it's a little bit harder to say, like, okay, this is a direct parallel. So I think it's more thinking about like what part of this process excites you. If it's previs, like there are some really cool things about previs that, if that's what gets you going, like I think that's great. It's just going to be hard to say, like, oh, because like for my presentation, like I really thought I was going to be a modeler or like a texture artist, because I do love painting. I love being a scenic artist, doing dirt treatments on everything. But at the end of the day, it was like, yes, I could do that. But this other thing just seems like more fun. And even though it would take more time for me to learn how to do that, maybe I'll get more out of it. And that's just kind of, and at some point, I think you just go with something, try it, even if you're not sure. Like this whole, like going to Gnomon, it was like a huge black box for me. I had no idea if I would hate it, but sometimes I tend to overthink things sometimes, so instead of doing that, I just kind of like throw myself off the deep end and just see how is it, and then make my decisions from there.
I think you'll get feedback too. You know, you just make stuff, and then someone will say, "Hey, you were really good at lighting, or you're really good at, color palettes." You know, and then you'll start to get to understand what your strengths are.
Yeah. Did that kind of answer your question? I'm not. Yeah. Okay.
Were there any other more questions in this stage? Okay, we have a couple more from online as well that we need to pitch. Who was the first one? Okay.
My bad.
Hi, so when transitioning into certain companies, let's say Blizzard, for example, is a good one, were you focused on working for a specific team like Warcraft or Overwatch, or did they kind of just put you in a department that needed people?
Me personally, I played Blizzard games to a ludicrous amount growing up. My mom was always like, "What is this subscription thing on my credit card?" Oh, don't worry about it. It's just not a big deal. So for me, I was already kind of creating content that was Blizzard style, I think, or where they were maybe tending to go. And I always wanted to work in cinematics. That was always like a goal of mine. But when I heard that there was, but I love games. I love games. Like if I'm not, like I said earlier, if I'm not working or playing sports or hanging out with my family, I'm playing games for the most part. I love it. And so I heard this new opportunity for this new game that nobody had ever heard of, and it was going to be Blizzard. And I was like, oh my God, I want to be a part of that. And so I applied to the specific team. So if you go onto the website, you'll see, like, I think it's called Blizzard.careers or something. You can type that into Google, and you'll see that each team is treated as its own entity. So World of Warcraft is its own entity, and they have their own tools, and they work their own specific pipeline. And Cinemax has their own, and Overwatch has their own, and so on and so forth. So you apply to the team. And then the really nice thing is it's a long hiring process. For me, it was about 6 or 7 months from contact to start date. 2 interviews. One was 7 hours. One was a 2-hour phone conversation. 2 tests over 2 weeks. And I was turning jobs down. And I was like, my God, what am I doing? Uh-oh. Are you guys interested? Like, I need to know. And I think that's part of the game. Like, how interested are you? I was pretty interested. So you apply to the team. And then once you're there, they want to retain the talent. You did the work to get there. They want you there. They have you there as a culture fit and as an artist fit. And they don't want to lose you. So if you're not happy on a specific team, from my experience, they are open ears. They want to hear your feedback. And if you're like, man, I just love what they're doing over there, and you talk about it and you figure out a path to get there, everybody seems to be, and a position opens up on another team, they will hire internally before they'll hire externally. Even if there's positions online, a lot of those get filled by internal applicants before they go and look outside.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, cool. My name is Marlo. I was just wondering, looking back, are there any skills that you would tell your younger self going to school, that's something you should have paid more attention to? I do this every day now, right?
Yes. This is something that I learned when I first got into commercials and music videos. It's just paying attention to what other people are saying, especially if it's the director or someone who's giving you direction or helping you create that visual that you're creating. I think it was a skill that, like active listening. It's something that we kind of take for granted because we, as creative people, we have our own like, oh, I want to do this, blah, blah, blah. But on set, it was very important to, okay, because you're always trying to anticipate what they need on the shoot, so it was very important to kind of, really, really listen and see what, okay, they like this here or that there, and I have to say, like, that skill has translated to what I do every day at Disney, because as a lighting artist, I'm helping create that image. So if I can somewhat anticipate, okay, the director and the art director, they kind of like this or that because I've paid attention, I think that's a huge win. So I would tell myself that in college.
I don't do this every day, but I'm a huge avid gamer. I wish I did more game development, more of that. I want more of that. Just to have the knowledge, and so I can, play around in a big sandbox. And secondly, I think that it is a mental headspace. There are long hours and long times of long hours, like long periods of long hours, and lots of notes and feedback, and from all sorts of different people and avenues. Learning how to filter that out is not necessarily filter it out, take it all in, find the common threads so that there's something there. So a lot of times people throw notes at what they see, which is great, but they may be calling out a note that's not the problem. And all of a sudden you show a bunch of people and they're all calling out all these different things, but you're like, well, which one do I go with? And you kind of have to find the common threads because there's something probably wrong that they're picking up on, and they're just throwing a solution out that may not be the right answer. So I think finding that is huge, and I struggle with that still.
I think something that I sort of wish that I had done, like in college, is taken more film classes and learned more of the narrative language of film and visual storytelling, because I was a fine art major, so I really, coming here and learning about CG cameras but not knowing about real camera, they're trying to emulate a real camera, but I don't really know what exactly like different aspects are. I think that would have been cool, and just work ethic. I think that was something I had to learn the hard way, is just learning how to set my mind to something and then just grind it out till it's done.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. Like having that work ethic, it's not easy. I'd say like when I got to know him, I was like, be ready to work hard, because if you're talented, that's great. That's going to get you that much more, far ahead. But there's a lot of talented people here, and for you to stand out, you're going to have to work hard. So, yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, we don't have time to get to all our questions online. We've had a whole bunch today, but we do have one from Nikhil, who's watching on live stream. They want to know, do you feel it's compulsory to have either a degree or a certificate in animation and visual effects to enter the industry, or are skills and a good portfolio enough?
It's not crucial.
No companies would be like, what grade did you get in your Polygon 2 class? Nobody's gonna ask that, ever.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that school's out of the picture. You're here, I was here networking. I would never have made the connections I made without being here. I would have never have learned all the different facets and learned fast the things I wanted to learn without being here.
Yeah, Gnomon fast tracks like that learning process, because you have so many people who are very experienced in, okay, like these are all the things that are involved, that for me, it just sped everything up, I could have watched online tutorials by myself, but I wouldn't have known, oh, okay, that's important, that's not so important, like focus on this, like here are the steps. It's such a complicated industry. There's so many aspects to the pipeline that I feel like just being in that learning environment is so important, but no, you don't need a degree.
Yeah.
But on the other side, there's nothing that can stand in for the education that you get.
Yeah, and especially what sets Gnomon apart from other programs is that so many instructors are currently working in the industry, and you get exposure to a lot of, guest lecturers, and everything. Just it really, the connections and everything that you make here, that's worth all of it.
And what's really cool is like, so for us, like the 3D program, you know, was the right fit. But there's so many different options. It's really about what you need out of the experience that, you know, you're not pigeonholed, I think, into doing one thing. Because everyone comes from different backgrounds. You have different needs. You have different goals. So I think that's great.
Awesome, thank you. And then Daniel, is your mum here? This is your mum, right? I wanted to thank Daniel's mum for coming today.
So Daniel, you graduated 6 years ago, right? I just want to say, as a parent, it's sort of scary. You know, are you going to get a job? This is a lot of money. What's going to happen? It does work out, and I really liked your graph because it's not a straight line. And life, as my mom used to say, is luck and timing. You have to have good luck and be at the right time. But if any parents want to ask me any questions, my name is Janet. I'm happy to assist. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. Thank you so much, all of you. You've all been amazing, as always. We always love having you guys here. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you back on campus. And we're so proud to know all of you, so thank you for coming. And I hope you're all feeling inspired here in the audience today too, and those of you online as well. As a reminder, we do have our admissions advisor, Ray Cuevas, over here, who we applauded earlier. I think so he can answer any of your questions about the school programs, classes, all of that. And Diana mentioned earlier if Eric Keller is still here. He is. He still teaches. So that's great. So I also need to thank Lenovo. Lenovo is now sponsoring Gnomon events. So thanks to them. They'll be sponsoring us for the next year, so expect lots of cool things. We have lots more events coming up. We have one on Saturday. Next Saturday, May 27th, we'll have Olivier Pran and Philippe Gaulier from Method Studios. So they both worked on Doctor Strange, and they'll be sharing some insights into their concepts for that. They also worked on Mad Max Fury Road and a bunch of other cool films. So if you're around, please come for that. We will be live streaming that one, but once the event ends, I'm afraid Marvel has requested we do not archive that one. So please, please, please make sure you attend either here or tune in live for that one. You can find out more about our events coming up in RSVP at gnomon.edu/events. And you can also sign up to our newsletter and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you do have time before you leave today, we have a gallery show on The Art of the Ningyo by one of our Gnomon alumni, Miguel Ortega. It's really awesome. We have costumes, props, behind-the-scenes stuff. There's even a making-of movie playing in there too, so please check that out. And if anyone would like to tour the campus, we can do that too. Please let one of us know, or we can schedule a time for another day if you have to leave right away. So we'll have another round of applause, and then Courtney is going to draw the winners of our prize.